So dari itu, how many minutes students akan present?
Untuk satu sesi ni kita ada 30 minit untuk seorang student. So kalau boleh tu present 15 minit lah. Kalau kurang lagi bagus, Q&A banyak kot. Lepas ni Dr. Shaniza, kan ada? Okay, alright?
Okay. So to avoid lots of Q&A, then I'll be presenting lama sikit lah. No, tak adalah. It's just ni. So So, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi to Dr. Bidayatul as a moderator. Thank you very much for today's session. To the examiner, Dr. Nurul Shariza, and to my colleague, Datuk Sri Izlan Yusof. So, happy Sunday morning. So I've been preparing a slide basically on the current title for my PhD proposal will be the moderating role of government intervention in the relationship between entrepreneurial orientation and entrepreneurial competencies towards the performance of young agripreneur in Malaysia. So my name is Muhammad Arif Adnan, metric number 904562 will be presenting today for the UUM Colloqium DC 201 2020-2021. So I'll be going through a little bit on the background of the program itself. Okay, so this is a program under Ministry of Food and Agriculture Industry, or MAFI. It started in 2014, aimed at attracting young people to be involved in agriculture, but not just as source of income, but as an expert for more breakthroughs in agrotech industries. So in RMK 11, this program was allocated 100 million in terms of promotional program, training, operational, and in-kind grants, whereas for the loan, the existing fund under Tekun and Agrobank with special interest rate was provided. Until up to December 2018, this program have managed to register 4,997 agripreneurs, aged from 18 to 40 years old. So the definition for young for this particular program is up to 40 years old. So this program offers a package for all projects under the category of agriculture, such as livestock, fisheries, farming, agro-based industries, and agri-services, including farming machines, harvesters, fertilizer, and etc. So it was targeted to the youngsters at the mixed rural and semi-urban areas. And this program actually is targeted for the young agripreneur to earn 5,000 ringgit per month. And in terms of the breakdown of the project, it will be 70% loan provided by the ministry and 30% grant, maximum of 20,000 ringgit. Okay, but the grant they didn't provide in terms of cash, but it is in-kind contribution in terms of project equipment, machines, raw materials, and agri inputs. And as for the ministry itself, they'll be providing training, loans, facilitations, and other assistance. So a little bit on the sector itself. Basically, agriculture in Malaysia, the data from Department of Statistics shows that agriculture contributes only 7.1% of Malaysian GDP in 2019, which clocks at 101.5 billion. And from basically from this number, the oil palm industries contributes around 38% from the total production, forestry and timber 7%, and rubber 3%. Relatively, the whole agriculture from this 101.5 billion, the agro-food industry only contributes around 52%. And it also provides 16% of the employment, mostly in low-skilled labor. And as the data from the Lembaga Pertubuhan Peladang, the average age of Malaysian farmers is 65 years old. And agriculture has always been associated with poor, dirty, tiring, and high-risk business. The stereotype of young agripreneur is often to an individual keen to make fast buck and more concerned about profit than the people they are worked with. It is according to Darby in 2001. The concept of agripreneur basically represents the new breed of agriculture enterprises who are creative, innovative and enterprising, and whose business motive involve applications of scientific and technological knowledge to profitable management of agriculture enterprise. Well, basically, the concept of agripreneur, this is relatively new. For in literature, from my research, initial research, it's the researchers only talk about agripreneur terms in 2016 and 2017. So that's where it started to make the snowballing effect of the research in agripreneur. Yeah? But entrepreneurship has always been a long time research. So there are 5 factors basically having a major influence of youth entrepreneurship according to Scove 2006. The first is social and cultural attitude towards youth entrepreneurship. So for this social and cultural attitude, basically it is the role of religion, cultural values, belief and behaviors. They played a very important role in terms of influencing youth to enter entrepreneurship life. And the second one would be entrepreneurship education. It is not only to foster youth into entrepreneurship, but to equip the youth with the attitude, skills, and through education, it is proven that it will encourage students to start their own business in the future. And the third one, from the 5 factors, is access to finance and startup financings. So, according to Eurobarometer survey in 2004, the lack of finance was considered to be more severe than administrative procedure or unfavorable economic climate. And for the fourth one is administrative and regulatory framework. The issues is basically the unsupportive tax regime, business registration procedure, bankruptcy law, ineffective competition law, intellectual property rights, and etc. And for the last one, business assistance and support, basically on the issues is lack of business connections, suppliers and network. This happens to most of young entrepreneurs, yeah, because of they're having on the lack of knowledge on business support services, especially what is being offered by the government. So that is basically what we are trying to study in this PhD. And according to Kwabena and Simpe 2011, there are 6 entrepreneurship theories with underlying empirical studies, which is something that I will go through into the research. Which the first one is economic entrepreneurship theory, second one psychological entrepreneurship theory, sociological entrepreneurship theory, anthropological entrepreneurship theory, opportunity-based and also resource-based entrepreneurship theory. So on the problem statement, so the first one is agriculture entrepreneurship still fails to attract interest from the younger generation in spite of government effort to promote it. And the second one is youth acceptance, attitude and knowledge can be considered as the key for the new industry to be sustained. But how many youth in Malaysia does have the good levels of acceptance, attitude and knowledge toward agripreneurship? And then the third one will be the issues is the inability to determine the effectiveness of the assistance provided and financial help that contributes to the development of agripreneurs. And also the last one, government or public service role, among others, is to promote entrepreneurial culture among young people, provide access to startup finance and comprehensive administrative regulatory framework, according to Scove 2006. But the effectiveness of this intervention towards agripreneur performance is yet to be defined. It is also mentioned by Harun Nizam et al. In 2014. There is the need to measure the effectiveness of the aid more accurately and holistically, as there has been no previous study which studies the success of this particular aspect. So as for research question, number one is there any relationship between entrepreneurial orientation and the performance of young agripreneur programs recipients? And second one, is there any relationship between entrepreneurial competencies and the performance of YAP recipients? Next one is there any moderating effect between entrepreneurial orientation and the performance, okay, of the YAP recipients? And the fourth one, is there any moderating effect between entrepreneurial competencies and the performance of YAP recipients? That is 4 research questions, and the research objective will be, the first one is to determine the relationship between entrepreneurial orientation and the performance of YAP recipients. Second one is to determine relationship between entrepreneurial competencies and the performance of YAP recipients. The third one is to identify the moderating effect between entrepreneurial orientation and performance of YAP recipients. And the fourth one is to identify moderating effect between entrepreneurial competencies and performance of YAP recipients. So there goes my problem statement, research questions, and the research objectives. So as for conceptual framework, this is something that I basically came up for the research. The growth of SME basically can be classified into 3 factors: individual, organization, and also environment. So as for performance of SME is determined by characteristic of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship competence. So this independent variable, basically I managed to get it from Sawoko 2013 from the literature. Okay, the independent variable will be entrepreneurial orientation and entrepreneurial competencies as for the individual of the entrepreneur itself. So and then there is also government intervention as the moderating variable, which is the key for this study basically. The why do I study concentrate more on these moderating variables? Basically, it's according to Abdullah and Naim Sulaiman 2013, they have identified factors that influence youth to become agricultural entrepreneurs, as well as many more research have been studied about the entrepreneurial orientation, the reason why young people became entrepreneurs. But as I said before, from Hairul Nizam, there is the need to study the effectiveness of government aid or government intervention in terms of the performance or the success for young agripreneurs. And the latent or dependent variable will be performance of young agripreneur itself.
Okay, Arif, nanti cepat sikit
Okay.
untuk kalau teknologi ni.
Okay.
Bagi aku kat
Sorry, saya record baru 12 minit. Okay, so there are few slides left. For the research methodology, it will be quantitative, describes and determines the relationship between the independent, mediating, and dependent variables, and also to examine the effects of perceived usefulness of government assistance and financial capital on the business performance development towards these entrepreneurs. And the population and sample, a total of 4,997 registered under YAP is treated as the populations. According to Blaylock 1960, it's classified the sampling method into 2 categories on the basis of nature selection of the sample units. First is probability and non-probability sampling, which is I'll go for probability sampling. And the unit analysis is the organization, which is the business owner and entrepreneur. And the method of getting the respondents is through questionnaire among the YAP participants. I'll be sending out the cover letter and support letter from YAP unit Agripreneur Muda. It will be emailed to all the YAP participants. And then the previous researchers suggested that it seems to be declining when conducting research within organizational level. Okay, and I'll be also doing visits to selected agripreneurs to understand more on their issues, business models, and in-depth interview conducted for information gathering. Okay, and then as for the method number 4, it'll be I'll be using SPSS and partial least square structural equation model (SEM). It is a group of statistical model that seeks in explaining the relationship among multiple variables. It allows researchers to analyze the relationship simultaneously, and is also interrelated research questions in in a single, deliberate, and comprehensive analysis by modeling simultaneously the relationship among multiple independent, moderating, and dependent constructs. Okay, the last slide will be the significance of the research. For the theoretical contributions, this research will contribute to resource-based view theory, RBV theory, where the internal resources and external resources combined will contribute to the business performance of agripreneurs. Most of the research in agripreneurship basically limit their research up to intention and motives only. So this is the thing that I wanted to explore more as for the moderating variables of the government intervention. According to Abdullah and Naim Sulaiman 2013, Abdullah et al. 2012, and Muhammad Noor et al. 2015. This exploration endeavored to overcome any issues by stretching out the investigation to the examination of real job of enterprising capabilities, entrepreneur orientation with government assistance, and uses young agripreneur programs recipients as the unit of analysis. And as for practical contributions, this new study will shed up light into specific group of young generation of entrepreneurship, which is agripreneurship. And the research helps to increase the understanding of these three levels of influences of youth agripreneurs' actual role of government assistance, which is the grants, entrepreneurial competencies, entrepreneur orientation, and throws a light to their knowledge, attitude, and practices as well as the problems. And the practical contributions, the third one would be the government would be able to use this study to review and re-evaluate policies on monitoring, training, and monetary in-kind grants to entrepreneurs. And last but not least, this study will provide a better understanding on government assistance, which be it financial or non-financial, that affecting business performance among young agripreneur program participants. So I guess that's all for my presentation for today. Thank you for lending your ears for the presentation.
Okay, good presentation. Congratulations, Mr. Arif Adnan.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay, before I proceed with the question to Dr. Nurshaniza, okay, I would like to comment a bit about your citation for the APA format. Okay, you have to check back your the way how to cite the APA, the citation for using the APA format, because at the first slide I can see, let's see, school, you have to, there's no full stop, and you have to just put the family name only, and then the year, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, actually it's a good presentation, a good point.